Wonderful. Thank you for having me at Figma. So let's talk about snakes and taste, and hopefully get some more good jokes in here. I'm Harald Kirschner. I work on VS Code, and I'm a PM. I dabble in design, I dabble in code, I dabble in data analysis, all the things PM end up doing. And I did originally write a lot of specs. Who here knew the word or the letters PRD before they became big with AI? So I wrote PRDs. And the problem with specs, they can drive decisions and they can capture decisions, but oftentimes you enter a meeting, nobody read your spec, and everybody asks, like, can we go through it first? And then they maybe last through that meeting, maybe last through another one, but they're not often good at really driving decisions and making something tangible. So when AI really hit the team about 2 years ago, when we started going deeper in AI and adopting it, we saw that prototypes were a lot easier, or even me landing PRs in VS Code directly, just to make a point, like, this is a good idea, please let me share what I think we should have in VS Code, and we have a PR ready to actually try it out. Then with prototypes, it became a lot easier. If you come into a meeting with a prototype and not a whole spec, you can actually talk about something real. You can talk about something and make decisions. You can bring this back into the next meeting and bring in the decisions from the prior meeting. You can have AI actually apply the discussion from the meeting. There's a whole lot of interesting loops happening. So we have designers making more powerful prototypes, iterating quicker in their tools. We have engineers who actually can quickly spike something, even in the PR and the code base, and PMs making a rough sketch. That's totally AI generated. My sketches are not rough. They're really polished, right? That's my team in front of here. So, way too quiet for that one. So we want something that we can react to. But if something, we're so fast at AI prototyping now, and we're still not often good at getting the output to feel like it's actually our product, because that can help drive decisions. That can help drive the nuance and the craft, that it actually looks and feels right. And this is what I'm going to talk about today, so how your taste and your eyes and your deep context from how your team works, how you can get that into these prototypes. And each of these compounds, once the AI understands your taste, once it can actually use the product, these are all adding on top of each other and making everything better. And it starts by writing down what's in your head. Let's talk about how we bring in that taste so you don't repeat yourself all the time to infuse taste into your AI. So what I'm going to show is how to create a design skill. So if you're not using a design skill while you prototype, you end up with more generic-looking things where it doesn't use the right colors, similar to a design handoff where the person getting the design doesn't actually use the tokens but picks colors that kind of look alike. And every session you do in these agents that don't have your design skills, they start from scratch for every person in your team. And there's a lot of tools out there helping with prototyping, and they make really good-looking prototypes. And they might even infuse you with some design tokens so they look like your app, but they still don't feel like your app. So a design system can also bring these things into the skill so it looks right and also feels right. So with design skill, you get all the right spacing, you get all the right carryover, and it's much easier to have these deeper discussions in a daily review. And when I say daily review, I mean it. We have, from the VS Code team, we switched from a monthly release cycle to weekly release cycle, also by having these daily check-ins to continuously drive decisions and unblock people is really part of that game, moving faster with prototypes. So let's look in one of my demo sessions where I worked on a Kanban-style agent orchestration board. And it was just a plain idea I have. We have all these agents now working for us. How do we effectively manage them? The agent nicely went through. This was a custom agent background that is biased towards first doing some research and asking me questions. It actually asked like what I actually want and what Kanban means in this case. So 4 questions later, it got all the context, and it made a plan. I ran the plan, start implementation, and I made this beautiful Kanban board. Let me just reset it so it starts from scratch. It's amazing. It looks great. There's agents running with different dependencies. They're working on their task. Once they finish and they need some input, they will ask for clarifications and go into need input. Really cool way to demonstrate the idea. But it also looks very, very vibe-coded. We all see the gradients. We see like the typical light colors from Opus that it so loves. Big green glowing buttons. So looks cool, but it doesn't look at all like VS Code. So in this repo, I ended up, after I did some tweaking, I ended up saving everything we talked about. So my questions, my input, everything, all the assumptions the agents made, and all the input I gave, I saved it into spec.md. And it's me not writing a spec, it's just me kind of saving the conversation and saving all the decisions we made into something I can transfer. So it's really a one-pager of what we're trying to do here. Basically, it's the long form of please make me a Kanban board after we talked about it, but some more. So now this spec I threw into another repo. New prototype, paste it in the spec, and what I get out after the agent builds it, and we do some noodling on it, is an actual nice-looking, some bigger, nice-looking VS Code-looking prototype that even builds on top of it. So there's some more input elements here. It shows the different dependencies between agents. So this is a much easier way I can now talk about this. And how this works is it's a whole prototyping repo with design skills built in. So how do we get these building blocks in there? What are these building blocks that actually make it possible to make prototypes from just a simple idea that will instantly look like your product, where you can then focus on the details, the little effects, the dependencies, really focus on the experience? One is the agents.md. That's like the root of the project. And these are all markdown files. These are all just files in the repo in this case. So agents.md sits at the root and just really describes the brief of what this project is about. It infuses it with, it's a VS Code prototyping repo. Think about VS Code. It's all about prototyping. It's the always top of mind for the agent. Every request you make to the agent, this agents.md is in its top of mind. Then the second one is skills. And those are just markdown files with a description on top that are loaded on demand when the agent sees specific workflows that match the description. So you can have multiple skills. You can build a whole skill database for review, for prototyping, for different workflows that you found useful in the past. And most of the time, I have the agent save a workflow, just create a skill for this thing we just did, and then tweak it from there. But it's a really powerful way to build these reusable kind of knowledge bits and workflows and share them across the team. Lastly, we have instructions. And instructions are similar to skills, but not included based on workflow, but based on files. So they allow you to describe specific areas of your code base and how the agent is supposed to work on these areas. So all of these are agents.md is always loaded, and then skills and instructions are progressively disclosed to the agent. So it knows that they exist, it knows when to load them, but it will only ever look at the full file once they match a specific pattern that the agent is aware of. And for all of these, you want to think about size, because they all end up using tokens. So it's always a good exercise to figure out, is your agents.md minimal enough, and just really captures the essence of what the agent needs every time it works on your project. So let's see what this looks like in this prototyping project. So I could browse over here. They're all in the GitHub folder, in my case, for GitHub Copilot. But just open up our agent customization view. So first one, the most important one I mentioned, is the instructions one for agents.md. So it's pretty straightforward. This is all there is. It's and the best secret is that this is about it's kind of these extra lines. So I kept tweaking it. I created a prototyping repo, and then I kept tweaking it because the agent kept making these things like, oh, I'm going to change this. I'm going to add a migration because we have this old behavior, and you need to have the new behavior, and we need to support both. No, this is a prototype. We're going to throw out the old behavior. I'm going to move over. This is all throwaway code. I want to move fast. I want to be iterative. I want to apply a prototyping mindset. So this is all that the agent needs to know always when it works in prototype, is that it's working on VS Code features, UI concepts for VS Code. And then over time, I evolved a bit more of these development principles to not think about how we're going to ship this, not think about too far ahead. It's really about focusing on the UI and the experience and the problem. Similar how you do a brainstorming, similar how you do a design thinking workshop. All of these things are really important for the agent as well, because otherwise it's biased towards shipping production-ready code, hopefully. So that's the AgentsMD. Then let's show one of the skills, the design system skill. It's a pretty simple one, and it doesn't capture the whole design system of VS Code, but enough to make the prototypes look good. So one of the easiest one, I actually pointed it just at our folder for our latest design theme on GitHub, and it extracted all the tokens, the spacing, all the important stuff. I also gave it access to our code library, to our Codicon library. So the Codicons are all the icons that power the VS Code icon system. And that's like an instant win to make every prototype feel much more like VS Code that actually uses your icon design language. So we got color palette, we got typography, we got a hierarchy of headings, we got depth, we added some shadows lately, and some corners, and translucence is in this new design system as well. So all these, just the combo of this, leads to instantly recognizable VS Code design. Not perfect, but close enough. So lastly, we have the file-based instructions. And one interesting thing with this prototyping system, I added a design.md system to every prototype, because I find I can talk through a prototype and noodle on it and give feedback and iterate on it. Let's move this over here. Actually, the agent, you misunderstood me. This is not the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve the other problem. But all of these things end up not visible in the prototype. The journey is hidden away if I just show people the output. So what is a good artifact I can actually create along the way? It creates these design.md files. So I can go in here and actually open up the design doc and read about everything we did doing this process that when I worked with the agent and collaborated. So it's kind of transmission log between us and what we decided on, how the agent understood me, what I gave as feedback. And all of these things can then inform the next conversation, which isn't necessarily just a prototype. So it's a really cool system, and that design.md file is defined here in how it's structured, in what is in there, and how to update it. So these are the systems that make this whole thing work. But how do you share them? Now we have a really cool design system file, and it's in this repo. So that's step one. Everybody downloading this repo, which is, by the way, also open source. You can just get it on GitHub. And everybody who checks this out will now get these skills. So the AgentsMD file, it just works out of the box. But sometimes you want to then bring these skills that work really well in one repo and for one team across more areas, maybe multiple teams, the whole company. And that's where team-level plugin marketplace show up. In VS Code, you can actually browse the plugin marketplace right here in the UI. I go on plugins, browse marketplace, and we have the Copilot plugins built in, awesome Copilot. And lastly, I have my own plugins all the way down here from the VS Code Team Kit. So the VS Code Team Kit, again, an open source repo on GitHub. You can check it out. It's where we share code reviews, things, and GitHub triage, and other places that we like as a team that makes us more productive. And let everybody else use it. And it's open source, so you can also use it as well. But it allows you to connect it to any of the coding agents you have for discovery. And when you update them, everybody will also get the updates. And that's an important part. You want to keep those things updated. That maintenance, treating them like infrastructure, because those are prompts that agent harnesses and models need to interpret. So over time, as models update and as agents update, these skills will work better or worse over time. And some of you users might have an idea like this, I changed this line to you must always do this, and it fixed all my problems. And then you will have these philosophical discussions on prompt crafting if you don't have evals in place, like you do with every agentic infrastructure, to prove that the improvements actually work. So it's really important to maintain skills, to treat them as infrastructure, to not have them drift over time as you update models and harnesses. Your team might use different harnesses, and you have a proper conversation around quality. So now the agent knows how to work with your design. How do you actually let it look at what it's building to take more action. So in VS Code, we have a built-in browser. I just showed the websites that you already used to preview, and the agent can actually use the built-in browser. And that's the most powerful thing I recommend to everybody working on any user-facing or any front-end application is finding feedback loops that your agents can use your application. We've been doing that in VS Code in automated ways. When we fix a front-end bug, there's actually in the PR, we have an agent running that takes multiple screenshots from VS Code because it's a web app and reports back on what changed and what got fixed. So the built-in browser is one way to just get an out-of-the-box eyes on your application by the agent, and it can iterate and fix. If you work on native apps like Xcode or iOS, then you can actually use Xcode build MCP as another example, which I'm a big fan of. And it's quite magical to have the agent just bootstrap a full application, then open it and browse through it and take screenshots and give feedback on its own work and tells itself how amazing it did. So it's one of these really cool experiences, but also makes it much more hands-off that you stop constantly testing your own app, but the agent can actually run through it. And lastly, if your platform isn't in here, there's probably an MCP out there or a CLI that allows you to do that. But it's something to really invest in, that once have it in automation, but also have it locally, that you can have the agent iterate over your actual application and look at it. But how does it actually do that? Like, what do you tell the agent what it's supposed to do other than, like, please look at my app, does it look right? So the does it work question is the basic one. That's the most functional one, where the agent will give you feedback on accessibility, maybe a button isn't working, maybe something else that doesn't feel right in the application or that feels like an actual bug. So that's like the quality assurance experience. But the other experience is give it actually a persona. Like, how would a new user with that kind of background experience the app? And agents are amazing. LLMs love behaving like a different persona. In the beginning, we gave it all like, you are an expert software engineer, you're an expert designer, designed in human guidelines and everything. So treat it like, give it the persona of a new user that's critically evaluating your application, and they have these needs. All your user research that you've been doing can feed into these personas. And you can get really good feedback from the agent, and new thought processes will be unlocked by this. And that's like the last one as well, like push yourself to be more of like, how can you infuse a skill or a dogfooding agent with something that's really, that gives it the right mindset. Like, I like the one where I give it my vision document or my pitch document, and then just have it look at like what I'm trying to achieve, like what is my promise with this application, and then you're a critical dogfooder that gives really deep feedback, you're honest, you're brutally honest, tell the AI to be brutally honest and roast the application, and you get better feedback. And the agent will go deeper as well. Because it's a critical dogfood, it will follow up a little bit more and do a little bit deeper dives. So how does this look like in action? So the skill we're looking at, go look over here, is also a skill in our prototypes repo. It's my favorite dogfooding skill, a sharp, independent dogfooder, but it's grounded in the design.md file I showed before. So it understands kind of what we're trying to do with this prototype and what's the problem, what is the user, what is the context it's all in. And so it first looks at the design.md, really tries to reason about what is it all about. And then it opens the application, takes screenshots, walks through the user journey that it kind of extracts from the design.md, and structures the feedback. So you can find this all in the repo, again, open source. So it did that over in this session. OK, so it went through, it took screenshots. You can see all the screenshots it took over here. It did how many times? It ran through, and then, but in the end, I could read a long chat, or I could actually give it a nice visual summary. So it's been pretty rough when I first ran it. But you get the idea of it's giving feedback. Very honest feedback. OK, lastly, we have the product brain. Now put it all together, put it into a repository. Your evidence that you did research on, your prototypes, and all your decisions. Create different agents like design partners, and feedback synthesis that gives you more feedback, more pushback. And it all compounds over time with agents, skills, and evidence. Put it all into one repo, and I have a link here as well that you can try this out. So it's your taste, your eyes, and your context. And the teams are not winning by using more AI tools. It's all about the context and making your taste visible to the agent. So when you come back home, write an HSMD, create a skill for your designs, and keep iterating. Thank you.